The Intergalactic Military Academy was a place for the best warriors from across the galaxy, each trained to become the ultimate weapon for their species. Physically dominant reptilians, hyper-intelligent avians, cyber-enhanced humanoids. Each species had its champions. Among them, the lone human cadet stood out, not for her strength, but for how out of place she looked. Arya Vale knew the whispers. She heard the laughter, the snide comments, the way the others didn't even consider her competition. Humans were physically inferior, barely considered worthy of the Academy's training program. The Sekari, a four-armed species with razor-sharp reflexes, called her slow. The Zypherians, renowned for their aerial combat, called her grounded. The reptilian Gorzan, a brute who led the top combat squad, never bothered hiding his disdain. "You don't belong here, soft skin," he sneered after another training session where she had struggled to keep up. "You're just an experiment. A failed one." She clenched her fists but said nothing. The truth was, so far, they were right. She was struggling. She lacked the raw speed of the Zypherians, the sheer strength of the Gorzan, or the hyper-precision of the cybernetic hybrids. Her performance in hand-to-hand combat drills was barely passable. Her reaction speed tests were below average, and even in strategic war games, she placed in the bottom half. The instructors barely paid her any attention. She wasn't a priority. Then came the battle simulation trials, a chance to prove herself or be permanently branded as the Academy's weakest link. The teams were divided. Unsurprisingly, she was placed with the weakest squad, a mix of lower-ranked cadets no one expected to perform well. The opposition included Gorzan, leading the Academy's most elite team. Their mission? Survive against an onslaught of AI-controlled war drones and eliminate as many enemies as possible. It was a test of tactics, reflexes, and raw skill. The moment the exercise started, chaos erupted. Explosions rattled the battlefield as drones descended, weapons blazing. The elite teams moved with fluid efficiency, taking down enemies with coordinated strikes. Area Squad, however, struggled. Within minutes, their numbers thinned. The drones were faster, stronger, relentless. She fired, dodged, took cover, but so did everyone else. Then something changed. A sensation she couldn't explain surged through her. It was subtle at first, a sharp clarity, like the world around her had slowed. She saw patterns in the chaos, movement before it happened. Without thinking, she adjusted her aim and fired. A drone that should have evaded the shot fell before it could react. Her breath caught. She dodged an incoming attack at the last second, pivoted, took down another drone. Then another. Her limbs moved faster than they should have. Her awareness expanded. The battlefield wasn't overwhelming anymore. It was predictable. Her teammates watched in shock as she moved through the battlefield, like she had done this 100 times before. She called out positions, predicted drone movements, and countered them before they could strike. One by one, the war machines fell. The Academy's monitoring systems flashed red alerts. Her combat efficiency had jumped nearly 300% in minutes. Her enemies noticed. Gorzan and his squad had been dominating the simulation, but now their eyes were on her. Zypherian tacticians exchanged worried glances. The instructors, who had been indifferent before, now watched intently. Arya wasn't just keeping up anymore. She was winning. Then it happened, the impossible. The final phase of the simulation, a full-scale sudden ambush. Drones swarmed the field in overwhelming numbers. Even the best cadets struggled. Arya. She moved through the storm, like she had rehearsed it 100 times before. Dodge. Counter. Shoot. Move. Every decision perfect. Every motion precise. She wasn't reacting anymore. She was anticipating. By the time the trial ended, the battlefield was silent. The dust settled. The scores flashed on the Academy's massive holodisplay. Her squad, the supposed weakest, had survived longer than any other. And her individual score? The highest ever recorded in the Academy's history. Silence. No one mocked her now. But as the stunned expressions settled into something colder, fear, Arya realized she had just made herself a target. The silence after the simulation didn't last long. Murmurs spread through the Academy. The cadet who was supposed to be the weakest had just outperformed everyone. Combat scores didn't lie. Arya felt their eyes on her. The instructors, the alien cadets, some in disbelief, others in suspicion. It wasn't just that she had won. It was how she had won. Too precise. Too fast. Too impossible. She wasn't sure how to explain it herself. The battle had felt like instinct, like something buried deep inside her had finally switched on. Even now, her mind replayed every movement with perfect clarity, every dodge, every counter. Her body still thrummed with an energy she didn't understand. The Academy's AI system flagged her performance for irregularities. It was unheard of for someone with her previous records to make such a drastic leap in combat efficiency. Was it luck? A fluke? The instructors weren't convinced. Neither were the other cadets. Gorzan was the first to confront her, his massive frame towering over her. "There's no way a human pulled that off," he growled. His claws flexed, barely restrained aggression in his stance. She met his glare, but said nothing. She didn't need to. The scoreboards had said everything. Other voices joined in. Zypherian tacticians analyzed her performance, whispering about anomalies in her reaction times. Some accused her of hacking the simulation. Others dismissed it as a statistical outlier. But a few, a very select few, were beginning to feel something new. Not disbelief. Not denial. Fear. They had mocked her before. Now, they didn't know what to do with her. The Academy wasted no time. Arya was pulled aside for an immediate evaluation. A full biometric scan, reaction time, muscle response, cognitive speed. She sat through test after test as advanced medical AI analyzed her vitals. The results were staggering. Her neurological activity had spiked beyond normal human thresholds. Muscle coordination and reflex speeds were far beyond what should have been possible. And the most disturbing part? It was still increasing. The instructors exchanged unreadable glances. Something wasn't right. She wasn't just improving. She was adapting. Someone had known. Someone had put her here for a reason. Arya didn't remember signing up for anything beyond standard training. No enhancements, no augmentations. But deep inside, she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening to her wasn't random. She wasn't just getting better. She was becoming something else. The Academy didn't stop her. If anything, they wanted to push her further. More trials, more simulations, more chances to see how far this anomaly went. The next combat scenario was different. Live combat. No safeties. No AI drones. Alien cadets from the elite squads challenged her directly. A test. A trap. A warning. They needed to know what she was. She needed to find out too. The challenge was inevitable. The Academy could run tests, analyze data, and scrutinize her records, but nothing would convince them more than a direct fight. This wasn't a training exercise. It wasn't a simulation. This was a message. Gorzan led the charge, flanked by 2 Zypherian duelists and a Sekari brawler. They had trained for years, their species built for combat, honed by instinct and experience. Arya had been struggling just days ago. Now she was their threat. She didn't hesitate. The moment the first strike came, she moved, not dodging by reflex, but predicting it before it even started. Her body responded faster than thought, pivoting before Gorzan's claws could reach her. His massive arm sliced through empty air. She countered, a precise strike to a weak point beneath his arm plating, a fraction of a second opening that no one should have noticed. He stumbled. The Zypherians attacked next, their aerial speed overwhelming to anyone who couldn't process movement fast enough. But Arya could. She saw every shift in their trajectory, every twitch before they committed to an attack. They weren't fast enough. She ducked under the first strike, twisted around the second, then launched into them before they could recover. A perfectly placed hit sent one crashing down, disoriented. The other barely managed to evade before retreating. The Sekari came in swinging, for arms in a relentless barrage of strikes meant to overwhelm any opponent. It didn't work. Arya saw the openings before they even existed. Her body adjusted on instinct, slipping through his attacks like she had been trained for years in their exact fighting style. She struck back with pinpoint accuracy, every movement calculated for maximum efficiency. One by one, they fell. The match was over in less than a minute. Silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The gathered cadets, the instructors, even the high-ranking officers who had come to observe. Asterisk, asterisk, they all saw what had just happened. Asterisk, asterisk. She hadn't just won. She had dominated. The Academy's elites, the cadets who had spent their entire lives training to be the best, had been systematically dismantled by the one they had mocked. Gorzin lay on the ground, breathing hard, eyes burning with something new. Not rage. Not even humiliation. Fear. Arya straightened, her breath steady. The energy still thrummed at her veins, her mind still processing every movement, every variable, every possible outcome of what had just happened. The Academy wasn't going to ignore this. She wasn't just an anomaly anymore. She was a problem. The aftermath was immediate. The Academy didn't waste time. She was pulled from the training grounds and escorted to a secured chamber where high-ranking officers and genetic analysts awaited. No accusations, no questions about cheating, just cold, calculating scrutiny. They already knew. The test results were displayed in front of her. Neural acceleration, muscle response, cognitive adaptability. Asterisk, asterisk, all beyond human capability. Asterisk, asterisk, not cybernetic. Not artificial. Biological. Engineered. She hadn't just adapted. She had evolved. The truth unraveled in pieces. The enhancements weren't accidental. The moment she set foot in this academy, she had already been part of an experiment. A classified project buried so deep that even she hadn't known. Humanity had always been seen as weaker, a species with potential but nothing extraordinary. That was the lie the galaxy believed. That was the lie they wanted everyone to believe. The enhancements weren't about making a super soldier. They were about proving a point. Humans weren't weak. They were unfinished. The genetic modifications weren't upgrades. They were activations, triggers buried deep within human DNA, waiting for the right conditions to awaken. War, pressure, survival. Humanity's true potential wasn't strength, speed, or intelligence. It was adaptation. And now, everyone in the room understood what that meant. The Academy had been a test. She had been proof of concept. And now that proof had been made public. The secret was out. A warning klaxon blared through the facility. High Command transmissions flooded the room. The galaxy's enemies had launched an invasion. The Academy's cadets were being deployed. War had begun. The officers looked at her. No more skepticism. No more doubt. They had spent years underestimating humanity. Now they needed her. For the first time, they didn't see a weak species. They saw the most dangerous one. Arya stepped forward, her mind sharper than ever. She knew where this was going. They had mocked her once. They wouldn't make that mistake again.